All right. So remember this one, we're going to go into more detail. I'll kind of set you up for it. All right. 3, 2, 1. What's going on, Reformers? Welcome to today's Tuesday training. Today I brought in with us Michelle, who's been one of our agents for probably a good, 3 or 4 months. Yeah. She's also a real estate investor as well. I wanted to bring her in to talk a little bit about leasing and, of course, working with investors and also apartment complexes when you're kind of getting into that space. But before we get into that, Michelle, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in real estate and what you're doing?
Well, I've been in real estate for 4 years now. I started off assisting a commercial broker, and then I split off and got my license and became a residential agent. And I worked with a lot of leases, so I had investors from when I was an assistant, and they let me lease out their apartment complexes and all that whenever I started off as a residential agent.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
So that certainly is kind of what we're going to talk about today, and it kind of leads into some of those tips and strategies we're going to talk about. First, I want to talk about investors, and obviously, being that we're kind of got that investment background, what are the kind of units or the type of investors that you work with right now, or that you try to work with when it comes to leasing?
Right now, I just do like small multifamily, 4-unit complexes, duplexes. I do single family like leasing, and then I do like small apartment complexes, 30 to 40 units.
Oh, sweet.
Stuff, so yeah.
Yeah, and obviously dealing with those smaller unit complexes, more than likely you're dealing with either a very small property manager or directly with the owner, obviously. What's kind of the strategy that you use to kind of get your foot in the door or to find those kinds of smaller unit apartment complexes?
To find the smaller unit apartment complexes that are for lease, usually I'm driving around, I see like a for rent sign, and then I call them, and most of the time I do get the owner instead of the property manager. The people who do the property manager, it's usually like on MLS, so I'll talk to them, or like Trulia Apartments. They have like the property manager's information on there. Gotcha. So if I really want to reach out to the owner, I'm driving around trying to find signs that they put out.
Kind of the rent signs you see, the red ones, red and white ones. Yeah. And then, is there anything that you kind of identify, like when you're talking with the owner, or say talking with the person on the other phone? Is there something that you kind of ask? Questions that you ask, or things that you understand from them that indicates that they're the owner, not the property manager? Obviously, you can ask that.
Yeah, I mean, I can just kind of tell, the difference between a property manager, because when you're talking to another realtor and when you're talking to, because they that's it. So you're like, oh yeah, I rented out. Sometimes they'll be like 4 and 2, so.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So you
kind of figure out if that's the owner or not.
Yeah.
Well, cool. And then, so I guess once you figure out, of course, that you want to, obviously you're going to want to go after owners directly. You don't want to go after property managers because there's someone in the middle there. When you start working directly with the owner, what is kind of your strategy? Obviously, I think you want to go after leasing because that kind of gets your foot in the door, right? That kind of gets you going with that relationship. What's kind of your pitch that you tell them?
One thing I do that when I know that the owner doesn't have any kind of realtor helping them, if I bring one of my tenants to their unit and they don't end up liking that place, then I just keep trying to find tenants for their unit, and I'll go and try to do some online marketing for them, and I'll try to get leads myself for their unit, even though I'm not listing it, and then they'll be like, oh, well, she's putting a lot of effort into my unit, even though she's not my, and so then once we do eventually get that apartment unit rented out, they'll be like, oh, well, I have this other, apartment over here that needs to be leased up, or I have this single family here that needs to be leased up, or I need to sell it.
Oh, and that's great.
I'm like the first person they think of because I was always there with my tenants.
Oh, yeah. And actually, it's funny you say that because I did a lot of that when I first started. You kind of do something, not really pro bono, right? When you negotiate your lease commission up front, but you don't really take on an exclusive listing until you've kind of proven yourself that you can bring new tenants to the door. And then it kind of shows your commitment to them and also your dedication to getting those units leased. And then obviously, once you get your foot in the door with that investor, obviously sometimes they have more projects. So that's the end-all goal there is to get your foot in the door, solidify yourself as their agent, whether that might be a exclusive deal or not, but you're going to work on getting that, obviously. And then you had mentioned something. I know we've been doing a little bit of rehearsing here. We talked a little bit about you mentioned something about some of these welcoming parties. I thought that was kind of interesting. Tell me a little bit about that.
Some of the apartment complexes that I've done leases at, they've always welcomed me to go to. They'll have like a happy hour or something on their rooftop, and they'll just welcome all the like new tenants, just kind of like a little welcome party for people who just moved in. And there I have like a lot of opportunities to network with people there, and I'll bring my business cards, just be like, oh, if you have any friends looking to move into the area or the same place, they'll be like, oh, well, I really like this place, they're throwing a party for me, so they'll like invite their friends to come and,
And honestly too, that's not just for solely leasing, because if someone moves into an apartment complex, they may have a friend or family that owns something somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, obviously if you're there networking, that's a good opportunity to kind of get your foot in the door in other places. So I thought that was really interesting, pretty cool, because obviously if there's a smaller apartment complex that's doing that strategy as well, they're probably a little bit more outside the box when it comes to promoting their building and pushing out 10 new tenants. So I think that's a great concept. That's a pretty cool way to go. And obviously, guys, what we're talking about here, obviously, is getting your foot in the door and leasing. But when it comes to the sales side of that, which is obviously the direction you want to go, have you been very successful in getting your foot in the door enough to where you're getting at least a listing on the back end for the sale?
Yeah, it's happened a couple times where I've had investors who were like, well, I know you're helping me lease this place, but I do have this one property that I've been having trouble selling. Could you like help me sell this place?
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be like a single family, or like I've gotten a ranch one time.
Yeah,
It's
a little different.
Yeah, it was different, but I mean, most of the time, apartment owners, they'll have like some other properties.
Something else.
Something else.
Yeah, because usually most people that own a 30 or 40 unit complex, usually it's not the only thing they own. They own something else too. So it's a great way to go. And then last thing I want to talk about on investors and investment properties is obviously referrals. When you're working with those tenants, bringing them in the door, let's just say, you lease up that property relatively quick. You prove yourself to the owner, you get it 3/4 of the way, or maybe 100% leased. There's obviously some ways that you can work referrals through, the tenants that you bring in the door, obviously through the investor that you work with. What are some of the ways that you've worked with on the referral side that's helped you kind of get those buildings leased up?
What do you mean, like?
Oh, if you bring someone in the door and someone ends up leasing out that property, have you worked with them in working those new leases to get new referrals?
New leases. Yeah.
Right.
So whenever I help someone lease out a property, I'll have like other people who are still interested in that unit. So then that's how I'll get like more leads, and then they'll be like, oh, well, do you have something similar to this in this area? And then as far as like referrals go, I'll have like someone who wants their mom to move to the area, or they're coming from, or they want their brother or sister, and then they'll be like, oh, well, can you help them find a place like nearby mine, And so that's how I get a lot of referrals.
Right, and that obviously leads into what we're going to talk about next, which is apartments. And obviously, if you're working with investors in those smaller unit apartments, then you can't find them something, or maybe they don't work with that property, or they don't like it, you're going to take them somewhere else. And obviously that leads into other apartment complexes. And you can go to certain places like apartmentsdata.com or apartments.com or Truly, or sometimes MLS. I mean, there's not a whole lot on there, but obviously you're going to take those and try to work them and make them work somewhere else. So what's your approach when working with apartments? Because it's a little difficult sometimes when something's not on MLS or maybe it's not even online. You can find. What's your strategy for that?
Really, like my clients will tell me, hey, I want to be in this area, and then I'll go to that area and then look at all the apartments. I'll have to drive around. I can't just look online because it's much harder to find all their information. They'll be like, oh, well, there's a 1-bedroom here for lease, and it's between $900 and $2,000. And then I'm like, okay, so I have to go there, and it changes every day, so you get like a sheet. And so I'll keep that, in a binder, and then whenever I have like a new tenant or a new client coming, then I'll be like, okay, well, I know which apartment complex to take you to, because I know it has, around what you're looking for.
And I've learned too, just kind of working around the apartment industry, that's kind of the deal. I mean, rates change like every single day. I mean, it could be $900 today, it could be $950 tomorrow, which kind of helps also too when you're closing your leads, because then you're like, hey, this thing's going to possibly change the next day. And then obviously keeping a good database or track of where these apartments are, what they are, what their qualifications are, because, and that'll help too on the back end of working directly with some of those sales managers or leasing offices to get your foot in the door with them as well. Because obviously, working with them, you can kind of help promote their product and push that as well, outside of what the referrals are getting from somewhere else. And so that's a great strategy to go with. When you're going and working with these apartment complexes, and I kind of know the answer, but what kind of commission rates do you get with them? And I know that sometimes they pay smaller commissions if you just send the lead, sometimes higher if you go with them.
Sometimes they pay 50%, sometimes they give you 1 full month. Sometimes if I actually, so this happened recently where I leased out an apartment complex, but then they ended up, they had a discounted rate on that apartment complex, so it was like $400 off that apartment complex, and then I leased it out, and they actually paid me the original rate of the apartment complex, so I got more than first month's rent. So I think that would be good, and it's good for like brand new apartment complexes because they're really trying to get people to live there. So I think the ones all in downtown.
I'm sure. Well, downtown's
between,
yeah, and I live up in the North Fort Worth area, which has got new apartment complexes coming up as well. And some of the strategies that I teach are, going to some of those new complexes. Kind of when you start seeing them, the outside starts getting brick and mortar, and you start seeing more of the finishes start coming out. Yeah. That's the best time to go to those sales managers and say, hey, can we get an exclusive listing to be able to lease all your units up, or are you open to working with the broker community? Because obviously that's going to be a huge.
And those who actually get paid quicker than if you were to sell a house, because sometimes things go wrong in that month,
right.
And so sometimes it may or may not close, or it might be extended another couple weeks or so. With leases, it's really quick, and you're getting paid 1 full month's rent, at least, So if you do a bunch of them at one time, you're getting paid.
And true too, and let me talk a little bit about that on being paid, because obviously each apartment complex is a little different in the sense of how they pay you. Some want an invoice, some want you to be on this vendor's list, some of you want to you got to go through and log on to this new website and register yourself as well. Yeah. What's kind of your experience with that? Do you see a lot of that in the industry?
I see a lot of the bigger apartment complexes, they want you to send them an invoice. Then there are the small units, 4plexes, 6plexes. They just want to pay, just write a check for you, and then they're just here, what's your name? And they just give you
Gotcha. And so and then too, that's kind of obviously I think working with the smaller complexes, you'll get paid even quicker than dealing with the bigger ones where they've got a more of a corporate style to go through. Yeah. I mean, obviously some are going to be better than others to work with. I've had some good experiences. I've had some bad ones where it's 30 days out from when they're supposed to pay it. And I think this is just my perspective. What I've dealt with, the property managers, the big groups, those are even more difficult because, my gosh, they sometimes had 3 to 4 months before you get a check from them.
That's true.
And you got to play collections.
Yeah, that's true. They take a long time. The bigger the apartment complex, they usually take a long time. Yeah. Because they have to send out a lot of invoices.
So you got to keep a spreadsheet.
Yep.
Something, Excel. Keep those up and going. That way you keep track of all that. Yeah. Well, cool. And I guess tell me a little bit about, when we end the segment on this, tell me a little bit about, and this could be with apartments, investors, or kind of just in general, maybe some meetups or some ways that you network to kind of bring in leads in general.
So how I network a lot is I have networking groups that I'm with. I'm actually with one group called YCP, which is Young Catholic Professionals, and so they meet up twice a month, and they have networking happy hours. So I'll go there and I'll meet a bunch of people there. Also within my church groups, they'll they'll have a lot of events like that, and then because you're part of their church, they'll actually want to go with you.
And of course, more people that know what you do, obviously you kind of need a service, they're going to come to you.
Yeah. And then they refer me out to other people that they know, their friends.
That's cool. Yeah. Is there a lot of other agents in there as well? Is it?
There's a few, but it's usually older agents.
Okay. They're
not bad. They're experienced. If you want a young, hip realtor,
they know who to call. Oh, no kidding. Well, that's great too, because obviously, I talk a lot about differentiating yourself, even if there is other competitors or people that networking or meet up. You want to always make yourself stand out from the crowd. Whether there's someone else your same age, you can make it stand out any different way you want to. So you got to segment your way in the marketplace. But well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing with us about some of the leasing tactics when it comes to investors and apartments. And obviously, you've worked a lot with that I think on the investment side and also referrals with the apartments. And so, Michelle, if people want to work with you, one of our agents wants to contact you about getting maybe some more experience or helping with a lease, how do they get in contact with you?
They can contact me through my Facebook page at Facebook, Michelle Rose Realty. And also you can give me a call or a text at 832-465-3866.
Cool. Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming in and helping us do our training today. Reformers, if you guys want to stay tuned for this Thursday's webinar, that'll be coming up soon. As always, if you guys need some help with anything, please feel free to reach out to us at 817-986-0911 and stay tuned for next training. Thank you. All right. You want to see how long that one was? That was probably 16 minutes.